Mm. Hello, my brave and beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of Soul Hygiene. This is our very first video podcast. The first 11 episodes were audio, and my good friend Mr. Derek is my first video podcast. I'm super excited to introduce you all to him. Um, It's actually Sergeant Derek of the U.S. Army, but he's a veteran. He's going to share a little bit today with us about, how he struggled with PTSD, a few stories, and what he's doing now. It's amazing the things that he's gone through and where he's at today. So I'm excited to share his story with you. Welcome, Sergeant Derek, to Soul
Thank
Hygiene.
you very
How you
much.
doing? How was your Christmas?
It was fantastic. And let me say, I'm honored to be your first visual guest. Thank you.
I'm super excited. A little nervous, but I know we're gonna make it through, so it's okay. I'm glad you had a good Christmas. What are you doing for New Year's?
I actually am going to a New Year's ball,
Oh,
and but there's a hotel right next door, so I'm not driving,
nice.
and
Nice.
probably be my first one in 5 years I've stayed awake for.
I saw a meme today that said I'm trying to pick out my outfit for lounging on the couch for New Year's, and I totally felt that. I don't go anywhere. I totally felt that. So I'm trying to pick out my pajamas for New Year's Eve. So let's tell can you tell everybody a little bit of about who you are,
Yeah,
kind of like,
absolutely.
yeah.
So, uh, that Sergeant Derek Koz. I was in the U.S. Army, straight out of high school, 88 through 91. Went to Fort Bragg with 20th Airborne Engineers, assigned to 18th Airborne Corps. Um, we deployed to Saudi in the first week of September of 90, and I was there until April 3rd of 91. So we weren't there at the immediate beginning, but pretty quick. Um, Super Troop volunteered to go over early. Um, it's kind of ironic. As soon as I hit the beach, commander came up to me and pinned sergeant stripes on me and threw me in the Gulf. Um, so I was promoted to sergeant immediately on getting in the country. And so essentially I was kept in the same unit over my best friends.
How did
Yeah,
they handle that?
no pressure. Um, you know, we Here's the thing about that people don't tell you. It's like I volunteered to go early because you when you grow up and stuff, you all you want to do is go to war and you want to be a soldier, GI Joe, doing all this kind of cool stuff. And um, I remember when I landed, I was sitting at the Air Force Base waiting on our unit to pick us up, and we were guarding a container at ComSec, and we were leaning up against these boxes, and everyone was giving us these looks. I was like, why in the world is everyone giving us stink eye? And someone finally came up and told us after about 4 hours, guys, you're leaning up against a pallet of coffins.
Oh.
And I was like, well, it just got real. Um,
Mm,
and they were empty, but it was like, wow, I don't want to leave the country like this.
right.
So it just kind of set a tone. You know, we there's a lot of people who saw a lot of nasty stuff in Afghanistan, Iraq, to in the 20 years we've just gone through. Um, our special forces friends who've been through so many tours, and what I would tell you is trauma is not picky.
Mm-hmm.
Trauma is an equal opportunity offender. Whoever she decides she wants to take, she will. And two people can see the same thing, and one person can be affected forever, and one person cannot even remember it. So, the things that I would tell you that I personally went through would not, people would look at now, because I've told people before, and I'm like, well, this is one thing that really haunts me. And they're like, well, why would that haunt you? And I'm like, you just had to be there. But the constant state of fear, the constant state of, we had scuds, all the dang time. Every time the scuds launched, we were sure they were coming for us. We knew they were filled with gas. We knew the mop suits weren't going to work, for very long, the chem suits that we were in and stuff. So it's like, that was the constant fear. And it was every single day we were, that adrenaline surge. And this is why we were sitting before we were forward deployed. At one point, we were the northernmost unit in Saudi. We were guarding the Wadi al-Batin. And I remember that night, it was the night the air war started. And it basically, we were a combat engineering unit. The biggest thing we had were some laws and some M84s. And they said, guys, we're going to hold the line. And we knew the tanks were going to come down the Wadi if they were coming. And we're like looking around like, we're going to do what? But, we spent the night in foxholes and pouring rain and under ponchos, smoking cigarettes like there is no tomorrow. And it was just, surreal moments like that. Spent 7 months in country. I came out through we came out through the port and down the highway of death, and we were the first ones to do a battle damage assessment of what the port and what a beach landing would have been like had we attacked from the sea. And it was absolutely horrendous. We would have lost a lot of troops had we come in from the sea. And there were SEALs that had swam up into there and saw the mines, but clearing that beach from what we saw when we got there was months and months and months. There was so much ordnance in the blocks leading up to the port. Kuwait was a mess. And then we came down through, and I can remember laying on my rack, and I hadn't been asleep in 3 or 4 days. And I was probably asleep 2 hours, and they came over and said, Sergeant Koz, we got a bird leading soon. You want to go home? And I was like, yes. Like, okay, we'll wake you up. I'm like, no, I'm not going to bed. I'm going home. I'm going to stand right here. And so you need to get packed, don't you? I'm like, I'm already packed. So, we came home, and you don't really think about things while you're over there. It's when you come home, and I was out of the military in less than a month of coming home. All my friends were on leave. They said, if you want to get out, you need to out process now, because we're going to Colombia or something next. And I was like, okay. So I stayed in out process and immediately got out of service. And I can't recommend that for anyone. At that time, of course, there was, nothing was wrong with us. We were just fine, just because we had the video game war or whatever. The reality came crashing down not long afterwards. And, for the first year and a half, I struggled. It's sweating, road rage, fits of temper. I mean, my dog didn't like me. My dog wouldn't even come around me. I mean, it was just vibrating all the time. And had gotten out and I was going to college and kind of struggling through that and drinking a lot, and went to the VA after some vet stopped me and said, "Hey, I don't know if you see what's going on, but you need to go see the VA." And it was a Vietnam vet, and he said, "I've seen this. You need to go see him." I went, and the VA said, "Yeah, you're just going through separation anxiety. You'll be fine."
Wow.
In my mind, I now have a mental issue. So literally for the next 30 years, I pretended nothing was wrong and lived that lie because I was afraid to tell anyone what I was feeling. And I got to a point, it was in 92, where I literally sat with a gun in my mouth and said, I'm done. God, give me a reason to not die today. I didn't want a reason to stay alive. There wasn't any. I just wanted a reason not to die that day. And he gave me a reason, and I wish I would have been smart enough to have asked for a good one. It wasn't, but it was enough. And I said, "Well, okay, you've been as bad as you're ever going to be. It's now uphill." That was in 92. Fast forward to 2021, I was in a transformational leadership class, and where they're hammering on all the things that you think you're hiding from other people. And they saw me and said, "We know you're hiding. Tell us what it is." And I just, I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'd slight, and they just kept hammering on me, and I got really angry. And they pulled me out of the room, and I talked to one of the leaders, and he just said, "I've seen this before." And he said, "What you need to do is allow yourself to come home."
Mm.
Because in my mind, normal was still there. And in a lot of ways, it is. The normal, it just changes. Anyone who's been to war, anyone who's been through trauma, life is no longer the same. It's completely different immediately afterwards. Forever
Yeah.
changed because your eyes are open. And, from that point on, I said, okay, well, if I'm not hiding it very well, then I need to learn to help others not hide it, because I paid for 30 years with mental health specialists, with medications, with poor sleep, with broken marriages,
Mm-hmm.
lost job opportunities, just not a good person.
So
And
can I interrupt you really quick?
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
is it hard for you to talk about those 30 years now? Or have you been able to like really get some help with decompartmentalizing, I guess
Yeah,
would be the word.
it gets better every time I tell it. I
Good.
mean, my chest is tight just telling
Mm-hmm.
it, but it's not as bad as it was last time.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that the only way to get through it is to talk about it. You
Mm-hmm.
can't soldier your way through. You can't commando your way through. You can't cowboy up. It doesn't matter who you are. It's there's only one path through it, and that's first you got to admit, hey, something's not right, and it's not necessarily that I'm crazy. Something's hurting, and then you got to start talking about it. Um, the sad thing is I see people every day on Facebook is my primary platform. I see them, and I'm like, I know you're hurting,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't say anything to them other than open the door and say, my door's open, I'm here. because
Right.
because we don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if it's combat fatigue. It doesn't matter if it's from a car wreck. It doesn't matter if it's from sexual abuse, emotional abuse, spousal abuse. It doesn't matter where it came from. The
Mhm.
effects on the body are the same. And if you don't talk about it, you will continue to live it
Right.
if you can. And, thank God my addiction was stress and adrenaline. But, so many are falling victim to alcohol, drug abuse, homelessness, and eventual suicide. Mine was adrenaline sports and stress through my job. I've been 30 years in corporate America. It's not been easy because you have to be corporate. And inside,
Mhm.
definitely am not. Um, but it fed the addiction for many
Mhm.
years.
I find that you being in the military and someone like myself, there are very similar things that happen no matter what trauma you went through, like you were saying, because I compartmentalized for 25 years. I
Yep.
was never trained to do that. I think some military men are kind of trained to compartmentalize what's going on so they can move forward. But then, like you said, when you come out, it kind of like hits you, like what just happened? And that's kind of how it is for any trauma. I feel like at least for me it was, and I've
It
seen it in other people that, you can't obviously compare your trauma to somebody else, but the response that you have from that trauma is very similar. Um, I've read articles where like a trauma response is almost comparable to grief, like a heavy, like you've lost someone. It's the same, uh, same thing that happens in our brain
yes.
when we lose someone or your heartache or it's. I wish I could remember the doctor. I just read his article the other day, but what I don't like is when people compare their trauma to somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
why is their trauma, like, how are they getting through it and I can't get through it? And e- everyone's trauma
Trauma,
is different.
trauma doesn't have a sliding
No,
scale.
not at
It's
all.
trauma's trauma. And the only thing that's different is the triggers, the
Hmm.
effect on the body, the emotional response, the not, and I mean, let's face it, our society doesn't talk about mental health.
I think they're starting to, but yeah, for many years it was kind of taboo to say that I have a mental health condition or,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling the best today. I really feel like, mentally I need a day off. And just like you, I work in corporate America, and one of the biggest trauma responses that I've seen in people is when they work so hard because
Yeah.
that's all they know. That's what gets them past their daily, mental instabilities. That's what they do. Like you're an adrenaline junkie. I work and kind of have gotten into that mode, that habit of working all the time. And now that I'm, have gone through 4 years of an intentional healing journey, I look back, I'm like, why am I working so hard?
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
want to work this hard. And you start seeing that all these things that you did to cope with what was going on in your head and in your heart and in your soul. And that's kind of what soul hygiene, that's kind of what it is, right? Is us going inward and looking and saying, I don't want to be this way. How can I get
Clean
through
out
this?
the, clean out the
Yeah.
shiz.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I love that you use that talking point. We have to talk about it. And I wish that I would have talked to somebody probably just like you do. You wish you would have. But now I feel like God has used the bad circumstance and has brought good from it, blessings from it to say, you went through this. Don't let somebody else.
I'm telling you, I would go through it 1,000 times over if I can affect one person with my words from what I've been through, because no one has to live like that.
Hmm.
It's
I
not
agree.
something you have to do. And I literally will not leave anyone behind. I feel so passionate about it that if I know someone's hurting, I will actively hunt them down and get them to talk, or at least understand I see you, I
Hmm.
know, and I've been there.
I find that camaraderie. I hear that a lot when I talk to veterans or even active military personnel. They're like, we never leave anyone behind. And I wish that was more once you get out. I know, like you, and I have a few other veteran friends who are they stand by that. But I've seen some veterans go by the wayside and think they have nobody, even though there's a
You
whole.
you feel like you don't, because when you get out, that it's such a tight knit community when you're in.
Hmm.
When you're out, it's like here's all these people that are different. You don't speak the same language, you don't look the same, you don't walk the same, they don't laugh at your jokes, and you're isolated. And I mean, you're trained to go to war, you're trained to fight, and now you're in a society where they don't want you to fight. And it's like,
That's what I know.
well, who am I?
Yeah.
No, it's not just vets. It's like you and I. Like I told
Mhm.
you before, you're my sister.
Mhm.
I feel that in my heart because we both walked the same road,
Yeah.
and the road's the same. We all took a different path to get there, but the road we have to follow and the road that'll take us out is the same
Right.
road. So as long
Right.
as we hang together and talk and actively search people out, we can make a difference.
And that I truly believe that. My heart and my soul are definitely into soul hygiene because I don't want people to be in that victim mindset or remain in that victim mindset. But I also can't be like, "Oh, just you can do it."
Yeah,
It's more of just encouraging them that they can, but they have to make that choice to
it is a
talk to
choice.
somebody. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
it
and
is.
I really truly believe that the first step is talking and saying, "Hey, I'm hurting." And I wish that people had more knew that they had more of an outlet, that they have a friend or they have somebody who will listen. And I don't like you, I was on that precipice of suicide at one point in my life. And that is the darkest time that you can be in is
It
between
is.
life and death. And I don't want anyone to feel that way.
I
No
don't either.
one. No one. And I don't want to lose another veteran. I don't want to lose another, you know, woman or man who's gone through domestic violence or a
Child.
child
Yeah.
who was abused. Like, I don't want to see that. And that's why I want, soul hygiene, just like we're talking right now, because maybe we can make a difference just by telling our stories,
It's
you
not
know?
maybe. We have.
Yeah.
We've cast it out. I
You are
mean,
correct. You are correct.
the more I'm upfront on Facebook, my primary platform, about it, the more people DM me and say, dude, bro, you don't know how that affected me. Will you talk to me? Can I talk to you about this? Just put it out there because
Mhm.
people are hurting. We have
Right.
a responsibility. We made it.
Mhm.
We have a responsibility to bring people with us.
Right. Right. I can't remember what that quote is right now, but I feel like it pertains to people who are on the other side of healing. And I say on the other side of healing, not that we are completely healed, because I don't think
And
that ever happens, but
later.
we we see something that others don't, who haven't walked that intentional journey yet. And there is power in that. There is strength in that. And I truly believe that God has put um, strength and determination in every person. They just, some don't tap into it, and they have to get past all of that dross and all of, everything that's going on mentally and within themselves, to tap into that strength that they truly do have. Um, but
Yes.
I don't want to hear about losing anyone else. I've lost a few friends who are veterans, some pretty close ones, and it's heart-wrenching to think, I just talked to them last week. Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they talk to me? Um, so
Because you can't, you wall yourself off so high that you become convinced that nobody sees you,
mhm,
nobody can understand it. And the fact is, there's so many of us fighting through continually. And like you said, I don't think it goes away. You get
yeah,
better. You get better at handling it. You get better at dissolving the stress in your chest.
mhm,
But yeah, I mean, it's a thing. Um, but just knowing, like you and I, like I can come to you and say, TJ, today sucks. Can we talk? And no one
definitely,
can talk to you is huge,
right.
huge.
And like you said, we have already affected people, because it's, I when I came out in 2019 with my story of, the 25 years, um, which will be another episode, but it was like immediately I had people, thank you
Yes.
for sharing. I'm going through this, or I'm going through that. And trauma is trauma for different people, but there are certain traumas that are relatable. So you
Yeah.
can actually understand and have empathy for that person, because you have walked that road. And I think that's why veterans are so, you know, military personnel and veterans are such a close-knit family,
Yeah.
because you understand each other and what each other has experienced. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that camaraderie, because when I 4 years ago was on that precipice, it was actually my veteran friends who said,
Yeah.
"Hey, I have PTSD. I do this, or I've gone through this. Let's talk. Um, and my good friend Travis, I always mention his name, because he was one that sat with me for 2 hours and said, "Talk to me. Tell me your story. Tell me what happened." And it really took a lot for me to open up. But once I did, it was almost like, wow, I didn't know I could talk about this and
Yeah.
feel this burden being lifted.
And not
Um,
be judged.
exactly.
The lack of judgment from someone is huge. To just hear
Right.
you, just hear
Right.
the, yeah.
Right. And I think to have compassion and empathy is so lacking in our society today, because it's something that's desperately needed. Um, and not a lot of people have it. There's way too much of, it's all about me, and I can't look past myself, or, you know, so then when that happens, it's like, what about the person sitting next to you? You
Yeah.
know, what about having compassion for what they're going through? I always found that when I was feeling down, if I helped somebody else, it actually helped me feel better. And
Yes.
that's one thing that I always try to stress to people, that I've said on my Facebook, or my blogs many times, is being a servant to others actually can heal you.
It
It
is
can
healing.
start your healing process, or, you know, because you don't think about what you've gone through. You're having compassion and empathy and
Yeah.
kindness for somebody else. And I found that to be so, I don't even know, like this weight lifted, you know, when you go and you help somebody else. Have you ever, do you feel that
I
way
did.
too?
I
Yeah.
had to start with I started with Sunday school kids
Mm.
because the kids didn't judge me.
Mhm.
And so I was able, they weren't afraid of Sergeant Koz. They just wanted to climb on me and rub my bald head and just, the kindergartners. All they want
Right.
to do is love on you. And
Mhm.
so I wasn't this monster who can't control his temper and just, blows up all of the kids just saw me as Mr. Koz. And so serving them and teaching them week after week after week after week, it allowed me to see myself in a different way,
Mhm.
that I wasn't a bad person, that I wasn't bad inside or rotten inside, that this was something that happened to me, not something that I was.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it totally changed my perspective on me. And I wouldn't have done that had I not been helping kids, and particularly kids, because kids don't judge.
Right.
They feel your inner person. They know whether you're good or bad.
Right. Yep.
And to have the kids accept me and just be excited every week when I walk in, for me was extremely healing, to know that I wasn't rotten inside.
That's amazing.
It was
I
huge.
love that. I love that. And you say that, and I remember an instance where I was at church as well, and I never taught Sunday school, but I did like um oh, it was so many years ago, but just having these little kids around and teaching them a song to sing,
Yeah,
was very freeing. Because every day when you're in that victim mindset, you think about your trauma every day.
yeah.
And to be free from that, even for an hour or two, and see the love that these little kids give you. I love children. I love being around them. I love teaching them how to sing it or about music. So I completely agree with that sentiment when you're around children and how it makes you feel.
And something you said right there that I think we need to stress is, when you make the shift from being trauma victim to survivor,
Mhm.
you're not a victim. I survived trauma. I'm still here today.
Right,
I have good days, I have bad days, but I'm a champ because I'm still here.
right,
And because I'm still here, then I'm going to do everything in my power to keep other people still here, and to see it as, look, you can rise above this. That happened to you. It doesn't have to define you. Don't let it.
right.
it
I
it's
like that.
it's not your fault.
Mhm.
That was then, this is now. You can, that's why windshields are bigger than rear view mirrors, because the
Yes.
view ahead of you is so much larger than what's behind. Uh,
Amen. Yes, for
it
sure.
just That tunnel vision just keeps you locked into where you were.
And I don't want anyone to get me wrong when I say, I use the words like victim, survivor, warrior, because I think anyone who is still here, who may still
Yes,
be in a victimhood mindset, is a survivor because they survived what they went through. But there's a
absolutely.
difference in surviving it and being a survivor.
Right.
Because once you're out of, I'm not a victim, I am still here, I have a future, then you become a survivor.
Yes.
And and that's what I try to stress is that, yes, you're surviving, but how are you surviving?
Yeah.
You're
Are you thriving?
surviving, right, you're surviving, you may not be you that may be all you're doing. You have to become that survivor. And when I talk about being a warrior, you know, I say you're survivor. When you become a warrior champion, that's when you're, okay, now I wanna help other people. I wanna help
Yes.
other people get to where I'm at because I see that there's a future, that life is worth living, you know? Um, so I do think there's a step process, but,
There
um,
is.
I also believe that just surviving what people have gone through, yes, that is you're still here, and praise God for that, I'm glad for that, but I
You
want
know,
them to move past that.
there's so many, I think, especially like in the soldier community, in the military, there's so many people who feel guilty that they are, because why should they be and someone else is not? And we lost 7 people at Toledo Air Base. Literally 2 minutes after we pulled off, 7 people gone. Um, through a mistake that should have happened, could have happened while we were standing there. There's no reason it didn't, other than God didn't want it to. Why them and not us? I mean, God's got a plan. If you're still here, God meant for you to be here. And maybe He knew you'd be strong enough to get through what that other person couldn't. And if
Mhm.
you've been chosen as that person, I strongly feel we've got a responsibility to those that didn't come home to live an abundant life for them.
Mm.
So we've got a responsibility there too, because they didn't get the privilege of coming home. We got the privilege of coming home. It sucks sometimes. It's hard. It's, but it's a privilege and we got it. So use it.
Right. I like that. I don't know that feeling. That is something that I've never experienced. That survivor guilt. But I have read about it, and I have heard other veterans speak about it, and it's heart-wrenching, I that's something that I wish none of you had to experience, because I can't imagine, feeling that. But like you said, if we can get one person or two people to realize what you just said and
Yeah.
find the purpose for why they are here, that's what matters. One
Yeah.
one person who realizes a purpose can change the world,
We just one person at a time.
and that's what we're gonna do. That's what we're starting, right? We're
Absolutely.
starting with one, two people, two voices, a podcast that hopefully will reach millions of people. And,
It will.
you
It will.
know, we want people to find their purpose, their passion, and help change the world, help other people, be a servant. Um,
100%.
yes. Wow. I could talk to you a lot, because we're so similar in our journeys, even though our traumas are completely different. Um, but you're right. There's like that camaraderie when you know someone who's kind of walked that path that you have and experienced things. But we definitely want to, tell our audience that there are avenues.
Yeah.
You can reach out, you can talk. And I think the premise of this episode, we knew it would be kind of a hard episode to talk about, but the premise is that you need to talk. You need to reach out. We can't
And we're
have you
both here.
compartmentalizing. Yeah,
Yeah, we're both here. My Facebook profile is public. I'm wide open on it. Anyone that's struggling or wants to call me out, hit me up on Facebook. I'm always there, but I'll listen.
that's amazing. So, jumping to another topic real quick. Um, you're also an entrepreneur.
I am, yes.
So tell us
So
a
I'm a
little bit about
coach.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I work with coaches to create an engine for their business that runs on autopilot. So really putting in the automated systems so that they can go out and coach and be super effective as a coach and not be worried about where's my next client coming from. So, and as I do that and work with coaches in the digital realm, um, I also sponsor trauma survivors on the back end with scholarships. So when I see someone that I'm like, hey, they're having a hard time working in a traditional workplace, then I can come in and say, what if I could give you the tools to work from home? Would that work for you? Because, I've been a plant manager and I've seen men and women come home from Afghanistan and Iraq that couldn't work in an industrial environment. But by doing this, I give back and enable a ton of great coaches to serve the people that I truly feel called to serve. So yeah, I love it. Um, I teach classes and work with businesses, and I have a ton of fun doing it.
So tell everyone what your website is, but I did go on your website and I watched your first 5 courses, and there's so much information, so much information.
And you're using
Um,
it. I
yeah,
see you
like
using it.
I was on there and I I was like, wow, this is such a great avenue, especially like you said, for veterans who they can't work a 9 to 5 anymore.
Yeah.
And that is what I was talking about. You're already changing lives with this one area of expertise that you have. You're already helping other people, and that's amazing to me. I love that.
Yeah. And I can be found. My company is DVET Digital. If you go to dvetdigital.com coaching, you can look at my coaching offer. Koz Derek on Facebook, you can hit me up there. Um, I work with all kinds of different businesses, and I love to talk about what's next.
Mhm.
To see people's eyes light up when they see it, and like you, to give away a free course and see someone use it and actually being effective at it. It's like, yeah, I did something. So
It
I love
definitely
it.
was a lot of information, like, there were a few things I didn't even know, so it was very, very informational, and I really liked it, and I see that you almost put blogs on your Facebook every day with even more
Yeah,
information that you're giving away for free. I mean, who wouldn't go look at that and read it and be like, "Wow, I'm gonna use this." So I appreciate that, because
absolutely.
not everybody, of course you want to make money at what you're good at. We want to create generational wealth, but sometimes when you're starting out, like for me, it's just this is my purpose, this is my heart, this is my soul that I'm pouring into this project because I don't want any more people to die. I don't want to see anyone suffer, or go through years and years of holding all of their trauma in just to finally one day realize that I didn't have to do that. Just reaching
You're,
people.
you're going to find out that the more you live your purpose,
Mhm.
the easier the dollars come, because people will search you out because they see you being real. And when you're real and authentic, people trust that. We've got a real lack of authenticity today. And I really think it's the people who are truly authentic that stand out, because you're an expert at being you. Just be yourself.
I love that you're an expert at being you. You know what? That could be a t-shirt. I think you should put that on a t-shirt. I say that so many times on my episodes. Someone will say something. I'm like, put that on a t-shirt, please. Because I mean, it's true. Y- No one else can be you.
Yeah. Just just have the courage to be it.
And it took me, I gave my first episode in November and I talked about like how SoulHygiene, came to me and how I sat on it for like I didn't know what to do with it. And I finally just bit the bullet and was like, you know what? If this is the purpose that is set before me, then I just need to do it and everything will figure itself out. And here we are, only 2 months later, and I'm
Our
doing a
first
live
video
our
episode.
video that I never thought I would do. Um, not because of anything, just because I just, had anxiety about it, but it's going
I'm
great.
I'm
You
proud
know?
of you, my friend.
I appreciate that, and thank you so much for being my first video podcast. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, Can you tell everyone again how they can reach you? What your website is, your Facebook, any
Yep.
other information you wanna give 'em?
Yeah, my Facebook is Koz Derek. Uh, you can reach me there. If you look up Derek Kozlowski on Facebook, you'll find it. Um, you can also find me at dvetdigital.com as the main website. If you go to the About Me, Contact Me, or Coaching page, you'll find out I'm pretty transparent. So you can reach me that way. I'm not real active on other social media platforms, but you can drop me an email at dcos at dvetdigital as well.
Wonderful. I truly appreciate you, and I know we haven't known each other very long, but I feel like we've known each other for a long time.
We're
Just
buddies.
that yeah, just that camaraderie, I thoroughly enjoy it and very much appreciate you and what you're trying to accomplish, and I already see that you're doing great things. So I'm just along for your ride. I'm looking and
I,
watching and,
I'm doing the
anything I
same
can
thing, my
do.
friend. I'm here to
Yeah.
lift you.
So, we're here for each other, helping each other, whatever you need. Um, you got
It
it.
takes a village.
Yes, for sure, especially in this day and age, I feel like,
Yeah,
um, when people have gone through so much, there are a lot of people who are, in their minds, victims. Some truly are.
yeah,
And hopefully this podcast can open some eyes and some
it will.
souls and, we can make a difference, and I know we will, because that's my purpose, that's where my heart is, and, that's the path we're on, so I know it's gonna
Good.
be great,
I'm
for
proud
sure.
of you.
Thank you.
Very proud of you. And thank you so much for letting me talk to your audience
Oh,
today.
definitely, I think you're probably gonna be a regular guest, so you get prepared. Do that last minute, "Hey, you wanna hop on?"
Absolutely. I'll be glad to anytime.
Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much, and, we'll definitely set another time to talk and, you know,
Perfect.
see if anything's changed or what's going on with each
I
other.
love it.
Thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful New Year. Be
And you as
safe.
well.
I'll be sitting on my couch. In my favorite pajamas. I think I'm gonna go buy a new pair of pajamas just for 2024 New Year. But thank you so much, my friend. We will talk soon. And thank you, everyone, for joining us again for another episode of Soul Hygiene. We will see you soon. Bye for now.